Welcome to Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club, meeting number 1, 2, 3. I am your acting president, Kevin Rubia, DTM, the Vice President of Education of this club. It's so good of you to join us today. Please let us know where you're joining us from in the chat. Before we get to learn more about Watabaruku Advanced, I'd like us to pause for a few seconds in honor of the great leader that we have lost recently in East Africa, in Africa, and the world, Raila Amolo Odinga. A moment of silence. May his soul rest in peace. Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters Club. This is a bit more about it. Watabaruku is a Swahili word that means people who gather for social purposes. We are an online advanced club founded in District 114, East Africa, and open to members worldwide, dual or otherwise. We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members like you and I are empowered to develop our communication and our leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. This is how we do it at Watabaruku. We have triple-tiered evaluations. As you will notice, each speaker will be evaluated on the content, the delivery, and the language. And this is based on the accredited speaker programs, judges guide, and ballot. We also have meeting themes that are inspired by the advanced communication manuals. If you are a fossil in Toastmasters, you might have gone through the advanced communication manuals. We bring them back in Watabaruku. And we have educational workshops designed to deepen speaking and evaluation skills every 5th Friday of the month. Stay tuned for that. We meet from 7 to 9 p.m. East African time on the 2nd and 4th Fridays, with an exception being this month of October. You can become a member as long as you have completed level 3, and currently we have changed that to level 2 of any path in the Pathways learning experience. We also encourage you to devote a path to Watabaruku once you join us. Let's go into the meeting guidelines and the renaming convention. Please rename yourself as follows. If you're the Toastmaster of the day, hashtag your name. For any role taker, start with a hashtag, be it speaker, topics master, timer, grammarian, general evaluator, content evaluator, and delivery evaluator. For those who are more than one in a role, like the speakers and the evaluators, please also add the number after the hashtag and the title. If you are a Toastmaster without a role, have your name _club. And if you're new to Toastmasters, welcome. We are happy to have you. Start with guest, followed by _, then your name. We shall link you with a Toastmasters club. Please keep your video on throughout the meeting if possible. That will enable us to have a more engaging interaction, especially during table topics. Please mute your microphone unless it is your turn to speak. Feel free to engage using emojis and the chat. Use the polls to give feedback and vote when called upon. And most importantly, enjoy, visit us again, and consider becoming a member. At Watabaruku, we have a club executive committee who I will introduce, starting with our club president, who is our Toastmaster of the day. To say hi to us briefly, Robert Karanja, DTM, over to you.
Good evening, members and guests of Watabaruku Toastmasters. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening. Welcome so much. Back to you, Kevin.
Thank you, Robert. Next, we have our Vice President of Public Relations, Maggy Waithiru. The floor is yours.
Good evening, good morning, whatever time your date is. Good to see you here. Welcome. Feel free to turn on your video so that we can see your wonderful smiles. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggy. Those are the... And we have our Sergeant at Arms. Yes, our Sergeant at Arms, Tigist Hailu. Over to you, Tigist.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Mr. Acting President, fellow Toastmasters and guests. It's a great pleasure to see you all. I'm Tigist Hailu, formerly known as just a member of the oldest Toastmasters Club in Africa, the Blue Nile Toastmasters Club, but I'm a proud member of the Watabaruku Advanced Toastmaster Club as well. Thank you.
Tigist. In absentia, we have Vice President of Membership, Gilbert Rutebemberwa. Try say Rutebemberwa 5 times. He sent his apologies. He's not able to join us today. We also have our Secretary, Treasurer, Sarah Wanjiku, and immediate past President, Kevin Kimbio, who are alive and well, but not able to join us. The minutes of the previous meeting were circulated among the Watabaruku Toastmasters. At this juncture, I would like to call for any amendments. Do we have any amendments to those minutes? There being no amendments, I'd like us to pass a motion to adopt the minutes unless we have an objection. Any objection to us adopting those minutes? There being no objection, I declare the minutes hereby adopted. Let's hear from some of us who may be joining us for the first time before I go to introduce our Toastmaster of the day, who is the meeting host. I'd be remiss to not recognize our past district director, Gladys Muhunyo. Say hi to us, Gladys Muhunyo, DTM.
Good evening again, members of Watabaruku. It is indeed a pleasure to join you today. Interesting is that I've always thought my Fridays to be too busy until a certain DTM said, you know, you have to step in for a GE role. And I told myself, why not? Learning is continuous. I have found that I have learned more from when I became a DTM than before I became a DTM. So it's just the beginning of the journey when you join an advanced club. It is interesting that the duties that you take as a club officer and as a leader at a club are much more applicable than even the speeches we give. So I look forward to serving in this club and learning from all of you. It is also an honor to see a lot of people I don't remember seeing a few of you from pre-COVID. So I'm happy to be here. Yes, I past area director Winston, Owino, and I think William Ochomo served in one of my club committees. So I'm really happy to see all of you. Thank you for the invite.
Most welcome, and we're delighted to have you as well. Audrey Wamaitha, let us hear from you. Welcome. Is this your first time at Watabaruku? How did you get to know about us, and where are you joining us from?
Good evening, everyone. My apologies, I won't be able to switch on my camera, but my name is Audrey Wamaitha. It's my first time being here, and I saw a poster in one of the Toastmasters group, and since I'm interested in joining one, I decided to come and listen into today's meeting. So thank you, and I look forward to the session.
Most welcome, Audrey. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you will enjoy yourself and we'll hear from you more towards the end of the meeting. Last and not least, I'll ask Mount Meru Toastmaster Liaison Laser, a friend of Watabaruku, to tell us how he is today and what has kept him so long from joining our meetings. Liaison? I believe he has dropped out. We shall hear more from him and more of us later. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our Toastmaster of the Day, Club President, Robert Karanja, DTM, who is a seasoned communicator and accomplished leader who recently completed his term as District Director. He has championed strong clubs, meaningful mentorship, and member growth throughout his journey, from club officer to district leader. In preparing for this meeting, Robert asked each role taker a reflective question. Who do you enjoy listening to the most? And what makes their voice or delivery so captivating? This question allowed the role takers to reflect on the power of the quality of our voices. Robert enjoys listening to Peter Joyce, an audiobook narrator for the Chaos War saga. His pace, pitch, and ability to uniquely capture hundreds of characters in the book brought the fantasy world to life in Robert's mind. Please join me with your hand clap emojis, putting on your videos, and welcoming Robert Duarte Karanja, DTM, to the stage.
Thank you so much, DTM Kevin, VPE of Watabaruku Toastmasters, for that introduction. It's a great pleasure for me to be the Toastmaster of this evening. And as probably we've seen in the posters talking about this meeting, the theme of our meeting this evening is reading to the heart. And one of the reasons that I decided to pick this particular theme is because it is one of my greatest challenge of vocal variety. From the time I delivered my first icebreaker to the time I delivered it was the 7th one that I delivered recently. To the time I delivered the 7th one, every time I keep getting the same evaluation. You need to improve your vocal variety. And so this year I decided to change that for myself once and for all. And I took up reading out aloud every day as one of the ways to practice my voice. And as I was reflecting on my voice and the voices of other people, I realized that we often think that having a pleasant voice is something that is spontaneous, is something that we are all born with, but that is not true. It is something that we need to practice and keep practicing in order to fine-tune the primary instrument that we have as public speakers and also as leaders. And so this evening, we're going to talk about how we are going to use reading out aloud, especially reading to the heart, to practice our pitch, pace, pauses, and add power so that we can move the listeners of our speeches. And tonight, by the time we are done, I'm going to deliver 5 speeches on how to make the best use of that reading out loud that you do, whether you're going to do it daily or you're going to do it at a particular schedule. How are you going to get the most out of that practice for yourself? And as the VPE, DTM Kevin said, I had asked our leaders this evening to reflect on who they enjoy listening to the most. And as we proceed, we're going to hear who they like listening to and why the voices of those people resonate with them in a particular manner. But before I go into giving you the first tip, before I introduce the role takers for this evening, let me give you the first tip. The first tip when you're reading out, reading to the heart, is to feel before you speak. And this means that as you're reading whatever passage you're reading, you need to try and connect with the emotions of the audience, of the author, and get behind the words to the feeling that is behind the words. So take a moment to visualize what exactly is the author trying to do. And the way to achieve this is, first of all, you can start listening to fiction, audiobooks and podcasts. You can read children's books because those ones usually have exaggerated emotions. And also you can record yourself as you are reading, because sometimes we feel like we're expressing emotions, but we are actually not doing that. So those are the three ways that you can try to adopt this first tip of feeling before you speak. I would now like to introduce the role takers for our meeting this evening. And first up, we have the timer, who is going to be Leah Minja. And Leah says that she truly enjoys listening to her mentor. Having watched her mentor lead club meetings and deliver evaluations, Leah has always been struck by the calm confidence and clarity in her mentor's voice. Its warmth, thoughtful pacing, and delivery convey meaning beyond the words that resonate with Leah. Over to you, Leah, to tell us about your role.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. Tonight, I have the distinct pleasure of being the timer in this particular meeting. Greetings, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As the timer, I will time the table topic speakers, formal speeches, and evaluations. I will also alert each speaker of the time they have left using the green, yellow, and red cards, which denote specific timing remainings. Tonight, we have prepared speeches which will be at 5 to 7 minutes, which means at 5th minute, I'll raise the green card. At 6 minutes, I'll raise the yellow card. And at 7 minutes, I'll raise the red card. For the prepared table topic session, they'll have 7 minutes. And each speaker is encouraged to use 1 to 2 minutes. So I will also time this particular section. And the last section will be for the evaluation. And at 1, which will be for 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will signal the green card. At 2.5 minutes, I will signal the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I'll signal the red card. That being said, I encourage each of tonight's role takers to ensure that we manage our time effectively, because I'll be using these evocative cards to notify you of the remaining time. Thank you, and back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, Leah Minja, for serving us with the role of the timer this evening. Next, we're going to hear from the Grammarian, and we have the honor of having Lydiah Wanjiku as serving as the Grammarian for this meeting. Lydiah says that she enjoys listening to John Maxwell. She loves his clarity and simplicity in explaining complex leadership ideas with authenticity, pacing, and practical insight, where he includes lessons one can apply. Over to you, Lydiah, to tell us about your role.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and our guests. Today, I'll be a grammarian, and my role is in threefold. So the first part of it, I will listen to the R's, all the filler words that speakers might use during the meeting. And we are supposed to improve our grammar and vocabulary. I'll monitor proper and improper language and grammar usage. and I request people to use the word of the day. And finally, I will give my report at the end of the meeting. The second one, I will share the word of the day. The word of the day today is evocative. Evocative is an adjective meaning making you think of or remember a strong image of feeling in a pleasant way. Synonyms to that is reminiscent, redolent, and derivatives. Evocativeness is a noun, and evocatively is an adverb. An example in a sentence is, the author's evocative descriptions brought the old village to life. I request all the speakers to use the word of the day. And the last part of it, I'll be the language evaluator. I will listen for the good use of the language. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you so much, Lydia, for serving us as the grammarian for this meeting. And finally, I would like to introduce the general evaluator for our meeting this evening. And this is going to be, this role is served by DTM Gladys Muhunyo. Gladys says that she enjoys listening to June Gachui, an advocate, musician, and speaker. She finds her captivating to listen to. Her stories are easy to understand, and her voice is musical. Gladys, please tell us about your role.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Observation is not often a skill that we develop naturally. As the general evaluator, I will be taking on this role, not just to evaluate you, but also to evaluate myself as an evaluator who motivates. The purpose of the general evaluator is to observe everything that takes place during the meeting, whether it takes place or not, and how we can motivate one another to do better. I'll also be observing areas of improvement and areas of celebration. I look forward to celebrating each one of you in your roles today. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, DTM Gladys, for serving us the role of the general evaluator for this meeting. As I was actually reading out my introduction, I realized that I need to actually be reading out to the heart. I hope I've been reading out to the heart so far. However, I think from the introductions of our role takers so far, we've heard that some of the most impactful speakers have amazing pacing. They have warmth in their voices, and they actually have a musical aspect to the way that they speak. And so as we are practicing our voices, as we are practicing reading out loud, those are three important things that we can think about. However, another tip is to play with pace and pauses, and this means you need to speed up for excitement, slow down for impact, use silence to let meaning land, and even pause as an emotional punctuations. How can you do this? Read dramatic monologues, marking where the pauses come in. Practice Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech. See whether you can pause as effectively as that outstanding speaker. And read poems and fast and slow to see if there is a change in the feeling, depending on the speed at which you read those poems. So those are the two tips that we have so far. Look for the meaning behind the author and also practice pauses and pacing as you are reading. We will now like to move on to the prepared segment of our meeting. And this evening we have the honor of listening to two members of Watabaruku Toastmasters deliver their speeches. First up, we have our Sergeant at Arms, Tigist Hailu, who is going to be evaluated by the team of William Ochomo, Winston Owino, and Lydiah Wanjiku. William Ochomo. Before I bring on the evaluators, I would like to read Tigist's response. Tigist said that her favorite voice is Alain de Botton, a British contemporary philosopher. She says he is more of an acquired taste. There is something calming and reflective about his speech, and she likes how he makes complex concepts accessible and relevant. He's also the founder of the School of Life. William Ochomo, please introduce Tigist's speech.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. Today, I'm honored to be one of the evaluators of Tigist Hailu. She is presenting a speech on the project, Understanding Your Leadership Style. She'll have 5 to 7 minutes to present her speech. The purpose of the project is for her to identify her primary leadership style or styles, and to share some aspects of her primary leadership style or discuss the leadership style in general. I would like to welcome Tigist Hailu. Tigist Hailu. Welcome.
Thank you. Can you all see me? Hear me?
Yes, we can.
We're often told effective leaders are excellent communicators. They also display integrity, empathy, and open mind. And most importantly, they lead by example. I want to invite you to pause for a moment and reflect on these attributes. And think about a leader that comes to mind that truly embodies them. When you're ready, please feel free to unmute and share. Which leader comes to mind?
Our dearly departed friend, Raila Amolo Odinga.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, our former president, President Mwai Kibaki.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Indeed, these are leaders that have some strong attributes that we need to see more of. Yet for the longest time, I must tell you that I had a deep struggle with the concept of leadership. You see, I work in the governance and diplomacy space in Africa, which gives me a front row seat to what I like to call leadership in the wild. And I have to confess, it's not a pretty sight. You know, some of these so-called leaders that carry big titles cannot lead a horse to water, let alone inspire organizations or nations to move forward. They preach integrity, yet practice impunity. They talk about serving others, while their actions show you that they're only there to serve themselves. It's almost like a master class on how not to lead. And after seeing that for many years, I had something like a leadership trauma. But that was until I had an aha moment. I had a very powerful realization. And that realization is that leadership has absolutely nothing to do with titles. Leadership is a way of being. You see, people with big titles can be leaders, but they could also be just people with big titles. Oftentimes, it's people without titles that quietly move mountains, build legacies that outlast them, without fanfare, without big budgets or a formal title. This new perspective on leadership is evocative for me to think about some of the great leaders we've had in history. And some of them we can all in this room identify with or are familiar with. I think of people like Julius Nyerere, who is the founding father of Tanzania, affectionately called mwalimu or teacher, which is Swahili for teacher. He lived a life of modesty and frugality, despite the fact that his position clearly gave him access to a life of excess. He's also one of those few African leaders who voluntarily stepped down when the time came. His style of leadership makes it very clear that true leadership is not about towering above those you lead, but walking alongside them. I think about Professor Wangari Maathai, a Kenyan ecologist and a Nobel laureate who faced intimidation and imprisonment for the simple act of planting trees. When the powerful tried to stop her and silence her, she just kept on digging. I think of Malala, a Pakistani teenager who's another Nobel laureate who risked her life and became a global icon for girls' education. When you think about leaders like these, it becomes very clear that true leadership does not need a convoy, does not need a corner office, or even a big crowd of admirers. All that a person needs to be a leader is to have a cause bigger than yourself, and of course, a good dose of courage and conviction. Reflecting on these leaders also provoked me to ask myself, what kind of leader am I? And through this project, I was able to identify at least two of my dominant traits, which are altruistic and authoritative, which in simple terms means I'm a kind dictator. My altruistic side means that I lead with empathy, accountability, and integrity, trying to make sure that the people around me feel heard and seen. At the same time, I have an authoritative streak, which doesn't necessarily mean being bossy, but having a clarity of vision and a determination to stay the course. So when the moment calls for it, I'll listen to every side and then make a call. I have experienced this many times when I had an opportunity to lead teams through high-stakes projects, that I use altruism to build trust. But then when stakes get high around delivery deadline looms, then my authoritative trait also plays in to make sure we stay the course and deliver. Here is one lesson in leadership. Leadership is not about just a few set of traits. It's about understanding and adopting on what the moment demands. But a core lesson of leadership for me remains is to always know that leadership is not just about charisma or power or least the title on the door. It's about having a heart of service and credibility of character and values. And having this perspective also makes it very clear that no one is too small or ordinary to be a leader and have a life of legacy and impact. As this anonymous wise saying goes, if you think you're too small to make a difference, you haven't yet spent the night with a mosquito. I want to leave you with a question. What type of leader are you? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tigist, Hailu, for your speech, for helping us remember how to lead in the wild by having a cause that is bigger than ourselves and having a great dose of courage. Absolutely, a mosquito does make a huge difference. Sometimes I feel like burning down my whole house just because of one mosquito. Fantastic. Before we move on to the next speaker, I will request the Sergeant at Arms to please launch the audience feedback form for Tigist. Please give Tigist some feedback over the next 1 minute on what you liked about her speech and what she can improve on before we proceed. We have 1 minute from now.
1 minute, please, over. Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your feedback to Tigist. We'll now move on to the second speaker of this evening, and we have the honor of listening to another one of our members, Mineh. Maina, who's going to be evaluated by the team of DTM Maxmiller, Keitany, Emily Manjeru, and Lydiah Wanjiku. Mineh says that she loves listening to her children. They have a way of tugging at her heart when they are discussing something. Their perspective on life and all matters is very interesting. She keeps learning new things about them and from them. I'll now request DTM Maxmiller to please introduce Mineh's speech.
Thank you so much, DTM Roberts. And it's my utmost pleasure to evaluate Mineh Maina. Mineh is attempting her distinguished Toastmasters project under the dynamic leadership path. Her speech purpose is to demonstrate skills as a leader and public speaker. And secondly, this first speech is for her to introduce her plan and vision. She has 5 to 7 minutes to deliver her speech, and her speech title is Walk the Talk. Walk the Talk, Mineh Maina, walk the talk.
Distinguished Toastmasters and guests. He who leads and has no followers is only taking a walk. This is a Malawian proverb showing that as a leader, your work is to influence. In presentation of my DTM project, I decided to help other leaders who are below me to influence them into the leadership level that I would want to see in the organization. I work with Ignite Energy Access. We are a renewable energy company specializing in solar energy. So we sell in loan and in cash. Our hierarchy is that we have a country director, we have the heads of departments where the commercial department falls in. I have my sales operations manager, and I have regional sales managers. And then under them, we have the team leaders, who are the last level of leadership before we go to the sales agents, who now go door to door to prospect to our customers. And these team leaders are the ones that we are going to train on leadership. In walking the talk, it's for my project to influence and to enhance the leadership in the team leaders, because without the team leaders, then we will not reach to the agents. And without the agents, we will not reach to the customers. Without the customers, the company will not survive. Why did we think this training is very important? My team leaders drive the heartbeat of Ignite Energy Access's operations. Many of them are nurtured either from being a sales agent or just from the local. They are actually just the village people who have some leadership skill and who are seen to lead at least 10 or 8 people. Therefore, many of them step into the leadership with little or no formal training. And that's why gaps will exist in trust, in communication, and in motivation. The vision is to equip these field team leaders to lead with influence, not just their position. And the purpose of this training is to strengthen their leadership at the field level, thereby improving engagement and customer experience. Our key objectives, therefore, will be to redefine leadership as influence and not as a position. because many of them have gotten the position into their heads, and therefore we want to retrain them so they can relearn. They can unlearn and relearn what they already know as a leader. We will be highlighting their leadership impact on performance and culture, because again, they bring in the culture in their teams. They bring in, the English has gone, but they will also build key traits of self-awareness, of discipline, of character, of communication, and instilling in them the duty of care. One of our major values is integrity and ethics. Therefore, these traits will help them to build into that value and build their teams into it as well. We are a social enterprise company, which means our business is in relationship management. Therefore, the whole customer journey depends on how well every person interacts with each customer, building that relationship. We will also look at strengthening their motivation, ownership and responsibility, and their adaptability as well to change. I will let you in on a little secret. We have been bought by a new owner. Therefore, the change management is going to be a very big deal going forward. The topics that we would like to go into this training is to define leadership, for them to understand what leadership is and what leadership is not. We will also go into showing them why leadership matters, because leadership defines the culture, we said, defines the performance, we said. Leadership also defines how far and wide each company and how long each company will last, how much revenue will bring into the company. And what is this aura that you're bringing into the company? What is this brand that you're bringing to the customers? Leadership defines that. We shall also train them on the traits of impactful leaders. We will train them on understanding their contribution to the business, how their everyday work speaks to the big picture of the company. How when they go into recruiting an agent, at the end of the day speaks to the performance and the objectives of the company. We will also let them in to have some self-reflection. And one of the questions we may ask them is, what are you going to do different after this training? Our delivery techniques will be less of slides. There will be no death by PowerPoint. Why? Because we have learned that lectures will only let the people retain about 5% of what they have been taught. Group discussions, role plays from real scenarios that we have come across as their leaders and them as leaders. They will also get peer feedback sessions where each of them will give each other feedback depending on the activities that we'll bring into the room. We will have real life case studies. This way we know we'll have exchanged knowledge, because each region is different across Kenya. Each person experiences different things in their day-to-day. And we know by them doing the job, they will retain almost 95% of what we will have discussed on that day. And hopefully, these traits will be cascaded down to their teams when they go back to work. The expected outcome of this training is that we shall spark a ripple effect across the organization. We shall have better led teams. We shall have higher retention of agents. At the moment, They are retaining about 60 to 65% of agents that they recruit on a day-to-day. We want to push this further to about 80%. Why? Because when you have a good leader, then you're able to follow through. You have more motivation to go through the job. With a higher retention of agents, we'll have happier customers. Happier customers, our customer satisfaction rate at the moment is at 75%, and we would like to push it to 90%. With happy customers, then we'll have more referrals from these customers. At the moment, each customer is referring about 2 customers per year. And we'd like to push this to 3 and 4 by the time we end the year. With more referrals, you can bet the business will have more revenue. We will be a happier team. We will be celebrating. And this is the expected outcome at the end of the day, a happy team. The team that I am working with, myself as the project manager, I have looked in Joshua Tahinduka, DTM, as the trainer. We also have Abdul Jalil. He's also a Toastmaster from Elevated Toastmasters. He's the data analyst. And of course, my team from the company, Patrick, who is my MD, I report to him, and Charles Gatete, who is my sales operations manager, who reports to me. With this team, we have done the background checks. We have done the surveys. We know where the gaps are, and we know how to fill those gaps through this training. That is all from me. I will invite questions and answers.
Thank you so much. There's a question in the chat from a member of the audience. Where are your areas of operations? Maybe you can answer that before we proceed.
We operate all over Kenya. We have 56 service centers. Our head office is in Nairobi, Westlands. So you can get to any of our shops in the country. We are also on social media. Just Google Ignite Energy Access, and you will get assisted. Yes, and Jerry, you've raised your hand.
Yes, Manjeru, I've heard you mention about recruiting of agents. What kind of qualification do your agents require to join your team?
They need to be Form 4 leavers. As long as they can read and write, then they can be part of our agency group. Thank you for the question. Any other question or clarification? Thank you so much. Over to you, TMOD.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mineh, for your speech. We wish you all the best on that project. To be honest, there are times in my leadership journey where I felt like I was taking a walk on the beach. Everything was so peaceful. That was because I didn't have followers at those points in my life, and I wasn't really a leader. But, thanks for your speech. for sharing that quote that helped me realize that. And now, before we proceed to the next segment, I would like to ask the Sergeant at Arms to please launch the audience feedback form for Mineh's speech. We're going to have 1 minute to give her feedback. 1 minute starts from right now. Thank you so much for your feedback to Mineh's speech. Our next segment is the table topics section. And before I bring that on, let me give you a third tip on how you can use reading out loud to help you become a better public speaker by training your voice. And that is by actually listening to music. Music is one of the art forms that has been created to actually tug at our hearts. And so when you think about it, when you're speaking, when you're reading, every sentence has a rhythm. Avoid at the flat note. Let your pitch rise and fall naturally. Let your sound carry emotion before your words. And so one of the ways to do this is to read rhythmic poems, for example, those by Maya Angelou and Kipling, and perform song lyrics like word of mouth, where you actually read the lyrics of songs out loud. Compare different recordings of yourself to see whether you have a flat or expressive voice. The table topics master for our meeting this evening is our VP PR, Maggy Waithiru, and she says that she loves listening to Les Brown, hands down, and this is because his laughter is contagious and his voice commands attention. Over to you, Maggy, to lead us in the table topics segment.
Thank you, DTM Robert Karanja, for the introduction. Table topics is all about impromptu speeches, thinking on our feet without thinking too much, whether it is the right answer or the wrong answer, as long as you articulate your message with clarity. The questions that I have are in line with today's theme, reading from the heart or reading to the heart. You are writing a book. Oh, the purpose of this is to allow all of us to be able to give thought to impromptu speeches, because we do that all the time. Please do not turn off your videos because you've heard it's time for table topics. I have sent messages to a few of you. Please kindly turn on your videos so that I know that you're in the room. That does not mean that I will not call on you if I had not messaged you. If I had sent you a message, kindly turn on your video so that I know you can hear me loud and clear. Thank you. I can see a few videos coming on. You don't know who I'm going to call first, therefore just listen to all the questions. This is the way we're going to do it. You're writing a book, or you have already written a book. I know in Toastmasters we have a few authors. Your book has inspired people and perhaps was inspired by your life events, or maybe it is fiction, whatever it is for you. This book could be humorous, it could be inspirational, it could be motivational. However, it has to evoke a feeling when we hear you speak. I want you to read for us 1 or 2 paragraphs of your book. Remember, you can imagine that the book is yours, so that we can learn a bit on how you personally read from the heart, or you read to the heart, or how you wrote to our hearts when you wrote that book or when you read that book. Without further ado, I am going to share my screen. And in this screen, I will ask you to look at the words there: Eskimo, writing, theater, flip-flop. All those words are in your book. Maybe the person is an Eskimo. This is an example, by the way. Maybe the person in your book is an Eskimo, and you are perhaps writing somewhere where it was nice and frozen, and your purpose was for the book to be a play that would be staged in the theater. And you went flip-flop, trying to figure out what was your topic, for example. Therefore, just give us a story from that book so that we can be able to go read it and hear what it is that you were saying to our hearts. My first question goes to you, Manjeru. Please unmute.
Sorry about that. Growing up, I was very shy. I never knew I can be anything close to an artist. I was full of fear because of lack of confidence. And you know very well what our parents used to do to us. We were beaten up to when you cannot even have any confidence in yourself. My father was the toughest of them all. And as we were going to the shamba to cultivate for the crops, we were racing against time to ensure that we finished this job before we went back to school. But the artist part of me came when as I was tending to the crops, I would really sing, and many people felt that I can become a good singer. But it was such a hard thing to have the confidence to stand in front of an audience. I was forever very shy. I would sing in the attic, and I would feel the bicycle pump always. And this led me to a lot of fear. But today, being a Toastmaster, I can confidently become an artist. I also do a lot of lazing. Like on Sunday, I will be a participant in the stand chat marathon. And this is a story of my life. Back to you, Table Topics Master.
Well done. Thank you very much to our lovely artist who will be taking part in the Stand Chat Marathon in 2 weeks. I forget when it is. Thank you very much. That was well delivered. And now, ladies, you know how to do it, ladies and gentlemen. The next question goes to you, George Moura.
I have never thought myself a pilot, because pilots have to commandeer a plane very many miles above the ground. And that distance can be very intimidating for me. I'd rather be doing something on the ground. Most people say that short people, for which I am one of them, are like hugging the ground. And that can be insulting to most of us. And it gives me ideas of coming up with art instead. Coming up with ideas that can be exhibited in an art gallery. And most of all, I would love to have like a harp as the main instrument that is on show in my art gallery. Because in my free time, I love playing the harp and singing all the way until I get tired. This can be a good hobby for those people who don't have a lot of time to do many things. Back to you, Toastmaster of the, sorry, Table Topics Master of the Day.
Thanks very much, George. If you're short and you're thinking of being a pilot, consider hugging the ground and becoming an artist and learning to play the harp. Well done. Thanks very much. We are now going all the way down south to South Africa, where we will hear Rihanzu tell us a story or read to us a book from the heart.
So we were sitting in a classroom having a training on how solars they impact our lives and how they would make it better by observing the energy from the sun. Then we saw a drone on the sky. Then we suspected, where is this drone coming from, as this is a desert island. And this is only us that flew here to have this training privately because it's a private mission on trying to be better leaders in the African continent. The drone went up and up and up, and then we saw a red flash. Asking ourselves, as one of ours had like an Eskimo, are they looking for you? Are you getting us into trouble? And who is a snitch around us? But we proceeded with the training and we learned that there are opportunities that can be formed for the business to generate more revenue and opportunities for the public to get employed as they want to retain their agents. But the drone kept on getting nearer and zooming into us. At the desert island, how can even technology start working? But because of the times that we are in, and AI is taking on everything, only to find out that it was a hologram. Actually, the drone was not even there, and the Eskimo guy was not even part of whatever that we thought of. And that was us in a 3 hours training. It was only a dream, and I woke up. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
That was a good dream. Oh my God, that was a very good dream. I love it. I love it. Thank you for the story. I am yet to figure out how this whole drone thing has come into our lives and become the thing that now people are being trained on in their dreams. Thank you very much, Rihanzu. Do we have time for one more, either TMOD to tell me that or the timekeeper?
Yes, one more.
Okay, great stuff. Let me see if my other volunteer is in town or if somebody wants to take part. Audrey, I would like you to try. Would you want to give this a shot? We do this a lot in Toastmasters. We invite guests to also take part in table topics. Going once, twice, gone. All right, my other volunteer was Angela. Angela, are you here? Angela Gerono? No. Okay. We will give this to Paul, and if Paul doesn't take it, we will close it there. Paul, Are you able to do this, Muwanga? Dan
I
Odero
will
has
give
his
it
hand
a
up,
try.
but
Thank you.
Paul has responded. Paul?
Yes.
Go for it. Let's hear your book. Make it evocative, make it funny, make it whatever.
At one point in my life, I had gone to an art gallery, which was a combination of looking at works of art and a bit of entertainment. And when I was there, I looked at a picture of a ballerina, and that excited me a lot. And I started thinking, what does this mean? What do these people do? It was my first time to see something like that. When I went home, I tried to explain it to my family, and they could not understand it. The more I tried to sketch what I'd seen, the more confused they became. And at one point, I gave up and simply threw the clipboard away and said, well, the next time there's another event, we should go together so that you get a chance to see what I'm talking about. And all that happened in a flash of the moment. And when I was writing this book, this particular story came back to me while I was in a public toilet, wondering how to continue with my book and what to write next. And that is how the story came to be in the book. Over to you, Table Topics Master.
Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much, Paul, for your ballerina story. When you said what you thought about the ballerina, I started giggling. Thank you very much, everyone, for your involvement. We had, in the first instance, we had George Mwaura. No, I've lied. We had Manjeru, then we had George, then we had Rihanzu, and we had Paul. Over to you, Toastmaster of the Day, to take us through this next segment, which I believe is the feedback or the poll.
Thank you so much, Madam Table Topics Master, for this evening, for that amazing session. Let's take half a minute to fill in the poll for the best table topics speaker. SAA, please launch that for us. Sorry. Half a minute. We have 30 seconds to do this. Thank you so much, everyone, for your votes. We're now going into the evaluation segment of our meeting. But before that, let me give you the fourth tip. And this is painting a picture with your voice. And as you are reading, try and visualize, try and imagine the scenes that are set out there before you read them. Think about what tone, pace, and volume would best evoke those speeches, those images, and use your voice to paint an image of this. And so one of the ways that you can do this is, first of all, read short stories with dialogue. Short stories by Anton Chekhov are great examples of this. Close your eyes and describe a vivid setting in the story, or read descriptive paragraphs as dramatically as possible. One of the things that I think I've learned in my Toastmasters journey is that A monotonous voice is a result of a monotonous mind, and the more active your imagination is, the more active and varied your voice is going to be. I would now like to introduce the evaluators for the first speaker, Tigist Hailu, and these are going to be William Ochomo first, who's going to be evaluating the content, followed by Winston Owino, who's going to be evaluating the delivery, and finally, Lydiah Wanjiku, who's going to be evaluating the language. Before I bring on William, let me read Winston's response. Winston said that he enjoys listening to Dan Martel, an entrepreneur and business coach. Because he has experience building and scaling companies from the ground up, his delivery demonstrates mastery of his subject, and his manner of speaking conveys authority. Let us first listen to William Ochomo as he evaluates Tigist's speech. Over to you, William.
Thank you, Toastmaster of the Day. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, I come from the left side. I'm therefore very well aware of the enormous potential of mosquitoes to really create an impact. So thank you, Tigist, for reminding us of how, regardless of size, how much an impact any of us can make. Today, we had an opportunity to get a chance to listen and understand your leadership style, Tigist. Here are some of the commendations I was able to observe from the speech you were able to present to us. The first one is you gave us a backstory of why you went out seeking your leadership story. You didn't just dive into giving us your leadership style. You told us that you've seen in our leaders in Africa, there are leaders who have titles, but they end up misusing those titles. And you are calling us into leading regardless of titles and stepping up and to lead regardless of us having a title or not. And that is what you even phrased it as leadership trauma. And that is what led you into going to discover your leadership style. The second thing I would commend you on is we got clarity on your leadership style. We came to discover that you are an altruistic leader and you're also an authoritative leader. Things that are quite contrary to each other, but all your leadership styles. And the third thing that I really found interesting in your speech was the powerful dominant theme of all of us having the potential to become leaders regardless of titles. You even went ahead and gave us examples of people who were leaders regardless of their titles. That is Malala and even Wangari Maathai. On to things that you could have done to make your speech way better is you could have used I noticed that you only stated your leadership styles and the characteristics of your leadership style. I felt you had an opportunity to use a personal story to showcase your leadership style. This will give you an opportunity to connect with the audience. For example, since your authoritative leadership style is very handy in scenarios where you have a crisis and you want to solve things very quickly, you could give us an instance in your leadership journey where you've had a crisis and where you stepped up as an authoritative leader. The other recommendation I have is I noticed that a large chunk of your speech was spent giving us the backstory, taking us through the general leadership principles like leading with empathy and leading without titles, and also some leaders that you are very proud of, like Julius Nyerere, Wangari Maathai, and Malala. This sort of denied you time to delve into your actual leadership style and expound to us all the different traits that are in the leadership styles you possess, the altruistic and authoritative leadership style. So I would challenge you to give that central theme, your leadership style, a large chunk of your speech. So by the end of your speech, you can be able to clearly understand how you're able to demonstrate those leadership styles that you possess. In summary, keep well done, Tigist. Keep on inspiring us to lead without titles. Leverage personalized stories so that you can be able to connect with the audience. And for sure, now anytime when I hear a mosquito buzzing around, I'll be reminded that I can create an impact. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
I'll proceed to evaluate Tigist Hailu's speech, the kind dictator, as she declared herself. Tigist, what did I observe you excelled in? I'll point out 4 things. Firstly, your excellent projection. I personally did not struggle to hear you clearly. You are as clear as you are audible. Secondly, your pace, the rhythm with which you presented your speech wasn't too fast, wasn't too slow. It was just at the optimum pace. Thirdly, your pauses. There were various times in your presentation where you used strategic silence just to help us reflect on your message. For example, when you asked us to think about leaders who demonstrate good leadership attributes, I noticed that you paused, and at that point, you gave us the opportunity to reflect on that. Fourthly, your facial expressions. You presented your speech with this glow on your face, reflecting such enthusiasm and excitement and passion for your chosen topic. As my namesake Winston Churchill once said, to improve is to change, and to be perfect is to change often. What do I feel you could improve upon in order to become a much more impactful speaker? I'll highlight 2 things. Firstly, tonal variation. Now, it was there, especially I observed it at that point where you were talking about Julius Nyerere, and you said he's one of those few leaders. So that few really captured the emphasis as intended. However, throughout your speech from that point on, it was now lacking, and you spoke largely in monotone. The recommendation I would place before you for consideration is that as you practice your speech, think about the key areas in your speech that carry key emotions, and then ask yourself, what emotion do I want to convey for the audience? And then use that as your opportunity to practice. And naturally, your tonal variation will come alive. Secondly, your hands gestures. They were there. However, what I noticed is that you have a default hand gesture, and that is you held your hands aloft, and there were times when you balled them into fists. Now, what I would recommend in this case is that you could consider observing speakers who are quite great at using hand gestures. For example, those who've won or participated in the World Champion of Public Speaking. Then, as you practice, ask yourself, how can I make my hand gestures much more appropriate so that they're purposeful and they're in tandem with what you're saying? All in all, I felt that your speech was evocative, compelling us to reflect on this thing called leadership. You excelled in several attributes as far as vocal variety and body language is concerned, and I would recommend that you carry on to your next project. I now invite the language evaluator.
Thank you. Tigist, Hailu. First, I'll start with your title. Your title was fitting, leadership. And when you started by asking us a question whereby we were all engaged, and you even paused to give us time to respond. What about the language criteria? Use of the word of the day. You used evocative. Indeed, your speech was evocative. And appropriateness, this refers to the choice of words that relate to the speech purpose and to the particular audience hearing the speech. You gave your personal story. You gave an example of how you even asked yourself, what kind of leader are you? Which was very appropriate, and also even posed the same to us. What kind of leaders are we? And the examples that you gave were very appropriate. The only suggestion I would do to you, maybe when you're giving an example, it would be good if at all again you can even think of an example in Toastmasters, especially when you're dealing with this topic of leadership. Correctness, you used your grammar very well. Your pronunciation was very okay. When you're posing the question to us, it was very clear. We could hear you properly. In conclusion, I commend you for the good use of the language and the word of the day, and I commend you to move to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you so much, evaluators of Tigist speech, William, Winston, and Lydia. Now we'll move on to the evaluators of Mineh Maina's speech, who are going to be led by DTM Maxmiller, then followed by Emily Manjeru, and finally Lydia Wanjiku again. Before I invite DTM Maxmiller, I would like to read Emily's response to the theme question. Emily says that she loves listening to Michelle Obama. She describes Michelle as having a vibrant voice that reflects leadership, authority, love, and respect. Over to you, DTM Maxmiller, to give us the content evaluation of Mineh's speech.
Thank you, DTM Robert. Mineh Maina, your speech required you to deliver a well-organized and well-executed speech about your project. And in preparation for your speech, you are required to select a project either in Toastmasters or in your company by identifying your vision and setting goals which are measurable and attainable. And lastly, you are required to have a team. I loved that you achieved the speech purpose to the extent that your speech was well organized. It had a clear opening, body, and conclusion. You broke down your speech well, and you were able to learn about your project in phases, whereby you explained what your project was. And the project is a training in which you're going to conduct it to try and empower leaders within your organization to help make your work a little bit better. I loved that you brought out the objectives clearly, as well as the expected outcomes, whereby you explained in detail to us what the impact of the training would be. I also loved that you took us through the team that you're going to work with, which included Toastmasters in there. I love that the topic was relatable to the audience, because as Toastmasters, we were able to see that you're talking about leadership, which is a topic we really enjoy, because communication and leadership is what we are about in Toastmasters. What do I think you could have done better? I felt that as you began your speech, you just dived right in. The introduction could be improved. Either you could have started the topic with a question to engage the audience better, because I felt that you just dived into the topic, and at some point we just saw the slides and we didn't even know what was going on. So perhaps help us understand what you're talking about before you delve into the slides. And secondly, perhaps the timer will advise on that. I felt that the conclusion was a bit rushed when you saw the red flag. And I felt that the question and answer session I don't know if it was appropriate for this speech because you did not have time after that. It was a 5 to 7 minute speech, and I believe the 7 minutes had actually been used up. And now asking the audience questions was going to take up more time. Overall, I enjoyed your speech thoroughly. I learned a lot about your organization and your training, and I look forward to the next speech. Thank you, and over to you. Going to the next evaluator, Emily Manjeru.
Thank you, DTM Maxmiller Keitany. Mineh, you did very well in sharing your vision. And as a leader who is now aspiring to be a PhD in leadership, I commend you for the passion you have to grow your members of your organization, and especially those at the lowest ranks, your field team. In terms of the delivery, I love that you used visual aids to convey the vision of your project. Those PowerPoint slides were able to guide us through your DTM project from the beginning to the very end, and were able to follow through by being able to follow with the slides as you continued to explain them. I also noticed that you had a fantastic and really engaging smile, and we could also see part of your face, and that's your hands, and that goes to the hand gestures. Your gestures were warm, they were inviting, and they also invoked a sense of excitement about this project. Being able to talk about the different ranks from your CEO all the way to the field teams demonstrated how each of them is a significant member of this growth. Being able to show us from the beginning to the very end, we were able to follow through with how you are going to execute this project. The third thing that you do very, very well is you have an inviting voice. You have very intentional pauses where we needed to think about what purposes of a leader needed to be. And especially when you are conveying the passion you would like to relay to this team, it was evocative to hear you talk about how you are working with the different teams to be able to convey the lessons and also make it more practical and engaging for everyone. If I could recommend a few things to improve on the three above, one is the visual aids were a bit disturbing, maybe because of the font types that were on different slides. I may recommend that you have a consistency when it comes to the presentation of the slides, especially when it comes to font types and font sizes. At some point, I was squinting in some, and some were too large for me to be able to follow through, especially because I was trying to focus on what you were saying. When it comes to hand gestures, I may recommend that you stand, even though you're using a PowerPoint. This way we are able to really appreciate you in your full being, or at least half of it since we are virtual, so that when you're speaking about your project, we're able to see the ranks, we're able to see the teams, we're able to see the start and all the way to the very end. And when it comes to the vocal variety, the only thing I noticed is I would like to let you in on a little secret. That way, we are able to feel the vocal variety when it comes to the secrets and the excitement of being able to support your team through the change management. Overall, I commend you for the wonderful use of visual aids, for your fantastic use of hand gestures and your welcoming face, as well as the use of vocal variety. I may recommend having a more clear, consistent style of your visual aids, more vocal variety use, as well as a full face of who you are. I now hand over to the language expert.
Thank you. To start with, Maina, the title, Walk the Talk. Indeed, we really walked the talk with you in the training. And the training was evocative. Language criteria, use of the word of the day. I listened keenly and I did not hear the word of the day being used. Speech criteria, was the subject appropriate? Very appropriate, because we were able to journey with you. You're very clear and appropriate. You took us through the training. Towards the end, I felt trained because you're very clear with your pronunciation. And the words that you're using: objective, delivery techniques, expected outcomes, and finally, the background check. Those were very clear and fitting in your speech. Did the language promote clear understanding and thoughts and precisely fit the occasion? It did. Towards the end, there's a place you talked about staff being happy, and you even quantified. You said currently you're at 70%, but you're looking forward to making it 90%. And when you give statistics, it shows that you understand what is happening. What do I suggest in future? In future, I'll suggest, if at all, you could incorporate the word of the day in your speech. Overall, you did well. The pronunciation, you are very clear. And you took us through the training, which the pronunciation was good and clear, and the charts also were clear. I commend you for that training session. Back to you, TMOD.
Thank you so much, evaluators of Mineh Mainer's speech, led by DTM Maxmiller, Emily Manjeru, and Lydiah Wanjiku, for your evaluation. I would like to give us half a minute to vote for the best evaluator for this meeting. Sergeant at Arms, please launch the poll. We have 30 seconds starting from now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Sergeant at Arms, for that. Before we go into the reports segment of the meeting as we come to a close to this meeting, let me give you the fifth and final tip on how to use reading out loud to improve your voice. And one of the ways is by reading the greats. There are certain famous speeches that we all know about, speeches that have resonated with a huge number of human beings in different parts of the world. And reading those people and trying to project the same strength and sincerity that those speakers had will be an effective way of you training your voice. For example, reading speeches by Mandela, Churchill, Maathai, or Martin Luther King Jr., pairing text with audio whenever you are able to find the audio, so that you can mirror the vocal energy and read standing up, gesture, breathe, and project the same way that those speakers do in those monumental speeches. So there you have it, 5 tips on how you can use reading out loud as a means of improving your vocal variety. I would now like to invite the timer for this meeting to please give us a report. Over to you, Leah Minja.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. I have the distinct pleasure to provide the time management on how we excelled throughout the beginning of the meeting until now. I've posted some highlights on the chat, and I'm happy to also narrate it as follows. For the prepared speeches, the first speaker, Toastmaster Tigist, Hailu, used 7 minutes and 45 seconds. She was a little bit above time. The second speaker, Toastmaster Maina, spent 11 minutes and 6 seconds, also above time allotted. And I'm sure her evaluator has mentioned the reason why she went over time. Coming to the evaluation section, the first evaluator, the content evaluator, Toastmaster Ochomo, spent 4 minutes and 21 seconds, also above time. The Delivery Evaluator, Toastmaster Winston Owino, spent 3 minutes and 29 seconds. He was on time. The Language Evaluator, Toastmaster Lydiah Wanjiku, spent 1 minute and 52 seconds, also within time. For the second speech evaluation, DTM Maxmiller Keitany spent 3 minutes and 14 seconds. She was within time. The Delivery Evaluator, Toastmaster Manjeru, spent 3 minutes and 28 seconds. She was also within time. The Language Evaluator, Toastmaster Lydiah Wanjiku, spent 2 minutes and 1 second. She was also within time. For the table topic section, the first speaker, Toastmaster Manjeru, spent 1 minute and 52 seconds. She was within time. The second speaker, Toastmaster Georgie Mwaura, spent 1 minute and 53 seconds, also within time. The third speaker, Rehanzu Kota, I hope I'm pronouncing your name very well, spent 2 minutes and 8 seconds. She was slightly above time. And the last speaker, Toastmaster Paul Muwanga, spent 2 minutes and 3 seconds, also above time. That is all in terms of my timing report for tonight. And I now hand the virtual stage back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you so much, Leah, for your report on the timing of this meeting. Next, we're going to hear from Lydiah once more for the Grammarian report for the rest of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Toastmaster of the Day. Today, the word of the day was not fully used because we only had 2 people who used the word of the day, and that is Maggy Waithiru and Tigist Hailu. So we are encouraged to be using word of the day. And the proper language, there are some things that I captured from the speakers. Heart of service, that was found it to be very good. And zooming into us, also that one I found it to be good. And the quote about the mosquito, that one I never got everything, but this, I found it to be very fitting with from the speaker. In general, the English that was used was clear. The pronunciation was also very good. I tried to listen to hear if at all there was anyone with filler words. I didn't hear anyone with filler words, meaning you are in another level. Thank you, and back to you, TMD.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Lydiah, for the Grammarian report. And finally, let us hear from the General Evaluator of this meeting, DTM Gladys Muhunyo. Over to you.
Good evening again, members of Watabaruku. It has been a delight. I feel like I'm in one of those cities which is a melting pot of leaders. So Watabaruku has created a euphoric, just thinking of what leaders would be like when they're presenting. And I definitely look forward to coming back to you. As I take on my today's evaluation role, I want to be a motivational evaluator. And I say this so that you can also give me feedback, whether you felt motivated or not. I will begin with the Toastmaster of the day, go to the table topics, master timer, grammarian, the speakers, and the evaluators. Toastmaster of the day, well done for a very educative forum of an advanced manual theme. I happen to be taking Gavelians on the advanced manual now. We have some Gavelians on the advanced manual, and reading is one of the key things that we learn when we are reading from the heart. Your content was well researched and well presented. Just 2 areas of concern: the improvement of vocal variety that you want to earn. I wish you'd have actually read to us rather than read a story rather than tell us how to read the story. That would be quite interesting. In an advanced club, I would also maybe recommend that you move from an informational Toastmaster of the Day mode to a facilitating Toastmaster of the Day mode. So rather than inform us, use the feedback method to get information from people, and that would mean you'd have shared the content that you present in the meeting way ahead, like maybe once or twice a day, or once or twice a week, so that people can engage with it, and therefore you can have a facilitating mood. Nevertheless, I really enjoyed that you've planned well and implemented your role very well. Let's give him his stars. Please use the emoji to help me appreciate the Toastmaster of the Day, my immediate past district director, DTM Robert Karanja. Well done. I move on to the table topics master. Yes, aspiring DTM Maggy Waithiru. We are waiting for the DTM title. I love that you used very, innovative way of leading table topics. I'm currently writing a book, and I've picked quite a few tips around how to do that. The engaging way you sort the table topic speakers by checking on them whether they're available or not, also bought time for the team. I want to commend your speakers, Manjeru, George Maura, Rihadzu, and Paul, for giving us very evocative stories from the cue cards. That was quite something. I really enjoyed myself in this storytelling life. And I also want to commend the table topic speaker for managing the time in that slot very well. One area of correction is active listening. I don't know whether I really picked when someone has responded to the question, whether you said back what they said. Maybe you did, but my active listening didn't really pick that very well. Congratulations, aspiring DTM Maggy Waithiru. Let's give her her stars, plus the 4 table topic speakers. You made the session beautiful to listen. It almost reminds me, I actually joined Toastmasters to do table topics. So it keeps me glued to the journey of Toastmasters. Let's move on to the timer. Timer Leah, you are really a seasoned timer. You excelled at great multitasking. When I saw your report shared, I was like, when did she type all this? So that's quite the skill in timing role. We are recommended in Toastmasters to take the timer role at least once a year. So if in this Toastmaster year you haven't taken the timer role, please do so and get some tip session from Leah on how to do that. I like that your introduction was precise and your report was concise. Congratulations. Let's give her some stars. Well done, Leah. I move on to our grammarian, come our counter role. Lydia, you had multiple hats this afternoon. This evening, I'm not sure whether in other meetings you're also the language evaluator or there's a different language evaluator. So I want to commend your grammarian report. Your grammarian report was well articulated in terms of the language that you did. The areas of concern I have is the R counter, because I listened to quite a lot of African words for the role, but because you are multitasking, that could have escaped you. And also, I'll take this opportunity to also give you feedback on the language evaluation report. I felt the commendations of language were more driven to content and the recommendations were really generalized. Again, I've put on myself a star to really go and read the advanced what do you call that speaker? The kind of skill set you're looking so that I can understand the language evaluation more. So maybe that's a minus on my side than you on how to give feedback on a language evaluation. But for multitasking, for being the person who took on the multiple hats for this meeting, let's give her her stars. Well done, Lydiah Wanjiku, on that. I segue on to the speakers. Wow, our speakers for the day. We have Tigist, Hailu, our kind dictator in the house. Your evaluators gave you such good feedback, and therefore I would want to just help you that understanding and adapting what it is that you recommend as a leader is something that I would probably like to see you apply. Just the understanding and adopting of what solutions you've given us. That would be something to apply or maybe to look forward to in another meeting. Let's congratulate our great speaker, Tigist Hailu. Well done for that. Our second speaker, Maina. Yes, our DTM protege, let me correct that, DTM protege speaker, Maina. I really loved the feedback you've been given by the team. You're aiming to influence. And when we are influencing, we avoid the word we. Use the word we quite a lot. Influence must be either persuasive or motivational, and therefore it came out quite a lot about as an information rather than influence and persuasive. And at DTM, we move away from information more to persuasive and outcome, and look forward to understanding that the project is well done. And yes, we need much more of DTM projects in East Africa. Congratulations for that speech. Let's clap for, give her the stars that she needs. Finally, to our content evaluators and delivery evaluators for today's meeting. The first speaker, Tigist content evaluator, William Ochomo. Beautiful commendation there. You have quite detail and depth. You portrayed good active listening in your recommendation of moving to story. That means you're helping the speaker to be a persuasive speaker, and you're also commended on the use of time value. Well done there. I believe the challenge you gave was practical and applicable. Congratulations for your evaluation, William Ochomo. Let's give him his stars. Let's give stars, please. Thank you so much. The delivery evaluator, Winston Churchill, your commendation was concise. Your recommendation followed a method I love called PREP. You gave the point, you gave the reason, the example, and gave back the point. That was on tonal variation and hand gestures. And you gave the speaker a challenge to step up. So that's quite good on delivery. Congratulations, Winston Churchill. Please, let's give him his stars. Great. Finally, we have the other speaker. I think I gave on language evaluation that I need to understand it more to be able to give better feedback on that. This final speaker we had was, trying to get Mineh, was evaluated by DTM Maxmiller, my Division B director, fellow mentor of the children's program. I really love that you were here. Your commendation was reference to the project objectives, and it was quite detailed and in depth. That shows active listening and critical thinking. You also gave specific, precise recommendation on the opening, on the conclusion, and on time management. And this challenge was not only for the speaker, but for all of us, so that we are able to understand what the challenge is when we are speaking. Well done, DTM Maxmiller. A big hand clap to my division director. And finally, Emily Manjeru, our delivery content expert. One of the things I loved about your delivery is that you actually delivered like a deliverer. I could see exactly what you were saying that the speaker could do. You did. Your commendation on presentation and smile, that was quite good. Your recommendation with specific correction areas and corrective stance and the whisper of the secret really was something that the speaker could pick, and your challenge for them to step up. Ladies and gentlemen, Watabaruku being the first time I'm here, I'm definitely coming back. I feel that taking this general evaluation role, not just as a feedback giver, but using it as a tool for motivation is also helping me to step up as a leader and an effective communicator. Back to you, Toastmaster of the day.
Thank you so much, DTM Gladys, for that motivational and encouraging evaluation of our meeting, giving us such helpful areas for us to get better as public speakers and as leaders. Thank you so much once again. Let me bring my theme to a conclusion. So as we bring this meeting to an end, every time we read out aloud, whether it is a story, whether it is we are reading out to our child or even a note to a friend, we're actually shaping our ability to speak. Our voice is an instrument, and reading out loud helps us learn how to play with it using our emotions, rhythm, and truth. And so every time we read, we're not just reading to the mind, but to the heart, because we are when we read to the heart, we're actually learning to speak to the heart when we stand in front of an audience. I hope this theme has been helpful. Thank you so much for the opportunity to lead this meeting back. I gave myself this opportunity as president. Members of the club also gave it to me. So thank you so much to the members of Watabaruku for this opportunity. Back to you, Mr. VP.
Let's give our Toastmaster of the day his stars. Fantastic. Well done to you and all functionaries and speakers in this monumental meeting 123 of Watabaruku Toastmasters Club. I will share the results, the poll results, certificates. Let's have drum rolls for the best evaluator tonight, the best table topic speaker rather tonight. Drum rolls, please. And this goes to Toastmaster Paul Mwanga of Kampala South Toastmasters Club. Thank you for visiting us. We look forward to you coming again. Pass our regards to your club. And our best evaluator today is none other than Emily Manjeru, Area 4 Director and Toastmaster from Rafiki Toastmasters Club, and the President of Short People's Alliance, representing all short people in East Africa. Well done. Let's give them their stars. And anyone who participated through table topics and evaluations, we salute you. I'd like to give an opportunity to those of us who haven't spoken to let us know how they found this meeting to be. I'll start with Anna Moses. Are you ready to speak? Let us know where you're joining us from and how you got to know about this meeting. Anna?
Good evening, Mr. Press.
Good evening.
fellow. My name is Anna Moses. I'm the club president for Eloquent Speakers in Botswana, Gaborone. I learned about the meeting this afternoon from this WhatsApp group, Toastmasters, Roads, and something. And then I just decided to join and see how you do things on that side. I think that I loved everything. I loved how the meeting was conducted. I loved the energy, and I've taken some few pointers that I believe would also benefit my club.
Thank you, Anna. Stars to you, and pass our regards to your Toastmasters Club, Eloquent Speakers in Botswana.
Yes, thank you. Thank
you. An advanced club. Great. Let us know in the chat how we can be part of your meetings. Thayo Masharia, over to you, Thayo. Let us know how you are, where you're joining us from, and how you got to know about this meeting.
Hello, everyone. I'm Thayo Masharia from Nairobi, Kenya. First things first, this is my first Toastmasters meeting, and for sure, I've truly, truly loved it. I am here thanks to Margaret Waithiru. Well, I can't say she's a friend of mine, but we talked a few days ago, and that is because I was interested in her club. So she directed me and she introduced me to this WhatsApp group. So she posted about this meeting in the WhatsApp group. So I had a few commitments and I decided to join in the last 1 hour. And to be very honest, I've loved the experience. I am challenged, or rather I feel challenged to better my public speaking skills. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Tayo, for joining us amidst your commitment for honoring Maggy, your soon-to-be friend. We look forward to having you in this Toastmasters family. There are your stars and your hearts. Let us hear from Zainab. Zainab, how are you this evening? Where are you joining us from? And how did you find this meeting? As Zainab prepares to let us know, let's give it to Dean Robertson DTM. Welcome, it's been a minute. How have you been? And how was this meeting for you?
I've been fine. Thank you so much for recognizing me. I always enjoy trying to come in and listen to the speeches and listen to the meeting. It's very well run, and I enjoy the enthusiasm, and I always get encouraged by hearing all the different speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for visiting us time and time again. We look forward to hosting you more and hopefully as a member. Jacqueline Talam, Madam IPP, if I'm not wrong, immediate past president, how are you and where are you joining us from?
Thank you, DTM Kevin Rubia. I'm joining from Eldoret Toastmasters. Yes, I'm the IPP and the VPE. This is my second time at Watabaruku. The first time I joined courtesy of you. I saw the post on your Facebook page. And today at least I saw a reminder from Maggy Waithiru's status. And I have this evolved feeling from the first meeting I attended. You had an evaluation day and I just loved the meeting, and thank you so much for having me and listening to the great speeches and the way you conduct Watabaruku Advance. Always an inspiration and always learning. Toastmasters, where leaders are made.
Indeed. Thank you, Jacqueline. Thank you, DTM Robertson, for your positive feedback. Ebenezer Makori from Anchor Toastmasters Club. Is this your first time at Watabaruku and how was your experience?
Thank you, Kevin. Yes, this is my first time here. And how I found this meeting. There's something DTM Gladys mentioned. You feel like you are in a meeting with leaders presenting very important things. That is how I felt. That is how I thought this meeting was. I've learned a lot. I've been inspired a lot. And I'm looking forward to being here a couple more times. Back to you, Kevin.
Most welcome. Come again. Bring in your families, friends, animals, plants. All of them will become leaders as a result. Maximilian Ndongo, over to you.
Hi everyone. Good evening, Toastmasters and fellow guests. This is my first time here. I saw a post by Maggy on her status. Decided to join. I'm very new to the Toastmaster community. I actually did my icebreaker last weekend on Saturday. That is from Simba. So I loved the meeting. She's actually better than I expected. The whole demeanor from the start to the end. Just what the Toastmaster of the day was able to speak about. I was able to pick a few things that I will definitely incorporate as I do my next speech. So I'm looking forward to joining you guys in the next meetings. Thank you.
Thank you, Maxmillian. Congratulations on your icebreaker. One Toastmasters just dropped out before I wanted to call on her. No worries. Toastmaster Yes. Riri, thank you for joining us. And we look forward to seeing you more, Maxmillian, in the Toastmaster forums. Dan Odero.
DTM Rubia. Good evening. Great to be here. Thank you. I'm joining from my kitchen doing a little bit of a nice meal, some local chapati. You know, chapati was got from India, chapati and some nice stew. This meeting is always great to see how much people grow there. I'm happy to see Mineh. I saw her join Toastmasters and look how far she's come. Congratulations on that. And well done to everybody here. Thank you, Robert, for the good theme, DTM, and with high evaluations. Thank you, everybody. And my friend, of course, Lydiah. I've got many friends here. Winston also, hello. Let me hand it back to you before I greet everybody in the room. Thank you. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya.
Thank you, Dan. From Nairobi, Kenya, in his kitchen. Please, you can drop the pin so that you can know where to go after this. As you prepare that meal, we have had fun, we have had laughs. Let us give all ourselves stars, hearts, and whatever emojis as we come to a close, as this meeting 1, 2, 3 of Watabaruku Advanced Toastmasters comes to a close. It wouldn't be what it was because it was a success because of you. It is 9:02 p.m. East African time. Before I officially close the meeting, an announcement. Our next meeting will be on the 31st of this month, 31st of October. You are invited. Again, bring your friends, families, animals, and plants. And I don't think I'm missing anything else. It has been a fantastic meeting. I call this meeting to a close.